because Albon has just driven around the side of his good friend.
Thompson with the giveaway. Here's a chance in front. Oh, what a goal by Taves Thompson! TNT blows it up.
Or Quinn,
or Paterka.
I think they perform better. You know, just they have better chemistry. They move on the ice better. They pass better.
But it's adding.
It's just
on
going
to,
into the whole.
Yeah,
Grand
it's
Prix.
adding on to the drivers' championship and the constructors' championship.
Boo! Really? We had this whole time. Happy Halloween to our Sports Hour faithful. Hope I didn't give you too much of a fright. Although that would be the trick of the year. Welcome and a happy All Hallows Eve to those that celebrate to tonight's very special episode of Sports Hour. I am your host, R.A. Lauren, and I'm here joined by my good friend, Justin Chatema, who is starting the segment starting tonight's episode. And who do you happen to be dressed as?
I am Robin Williams from the movie Flubber.
No one has ever seen this movie.
This is not...
I think it is a figment of Justin's imagination.
We have a Flubber toy.
A creation of his dreams, if you will.
That's been destroyed.
How long did you have... When did you get this?
Like a few weeks ago. And then here's...
A few weeks?
That picture's too small.
What do you mean a few weeks ago? Didn't this movie come out like a while ago?
Well, yeah, I mean, okay.
Oh, come out.
This is Flubber. There's Robin Williams himself. It's like a cute little thing. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. I haven't seen it in years though, also. I'm
sure the movie is great. The scariest thing about the NFL recently has been the Buffalo Bills level of... It's not gonna stand up. Has been the Buffalo Bills level of play, but they had a little bit of a return to form, if you will, on the Thursday Night Football matchup that was this week in the Week 8 of the NFL season. The Bills appear to be back hitting on all cylinders.
Yes, no, it was a good watch. It was fun. Josh is looking like Josh again.
Yeah, definitely.
Go. Absolutely.
Definitely felt more of the passion because we talked a bit last week about how we have to, in order to win, we have to let Josh be Josh.
Yeah.
And he definitely seemed that way. He seemed amped up. He seemed like he was, he wanted to win.
Well,
31 of 40 for 324 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have an interception. He's been throwing a lot of those recently. But I talked about this again last week. You kind of take what you get from Josh. He's gonna win you games. He might also lose you games, but he won us this one.
Yeah. And not only did we utilize our tools correctly, we utilized all of our tools, which was really good to see. We spanned it across the whole board. Shout out Shakir coming back at it. I know he was a name that I looked out for at the end of last season.
Our leading receiver this game.
Yeah, he's been a little quiet ever since the end of last season, but now 6 receptions, 92 yards. Come on.
Yeah, I think that me personally, when I'm watching the games, I feel as though Josh was really missing that safety valve. Mm-hmm. He missed that guy that you can go to every play to get you 5 to 6 yards. Yeah. And that Cole Beasley-esque player that we really haven't had since Cole Beasley left the team. But I don't want to jump to conclusions or anything, but this game felt like Khalil Shakir fit that kind of niche well. He didn't do too much. He ran sharp routes. He kept it within 5 yards. And he was also able to break his short catches for longer gains. The yards after the catch, the yak as they call it, was really efficient with Khalil Shakir. He started the game hot and got us the momentum going early whenever we needed a spark. We were able to go that way. And another kind of safety valve-esque player that I was looking for this season was Dalton Kincaid. When we drafted him, he played slot. I felt like we drafted a 6'5" glorified slot receiver. Soft hands, good route running, mobile, not really going to block a bunch of people, but can get you done in a pinch. And again, he looked pretty good. 5 catches, 65 yards, and a touchdown. So is this a place that, do you think the Bills offense is going to grow from here, or what do you think?
I think this, in terms of looking at the rest of the season, I think we should look at this game as a reference point because we didn't just use one receiver the whole game as a cop-out. We used the majority of our receivers, and it shows that that's how you play a football game. And it was a good watch. And on Kincaid, he reminded me a lot of Dawson Knox.
Yeah.
Throughout the game.
Yeah, he definitely was able to fill the void left by Fort Knox. And I think the Bills played good football. Buccaneers gave us a fight. They kept it interesting at the end of the game they brought it within 6. But again, when I was watching this game, I never really felt like we were in dire straits at any point.
No, definitely not.
Felt like a pretty clean win, start to finish. And then we go from what I think was a pretty effective clean win from the Bills to the sloppiest game in the history of the NFL with the Battle for New York in the Meadowlands. The Battle for New York held in New Jersey. Doesn't make much sense to me. But we go to East Rutherford nonetheless for the ugliest game. I'm willing to say the ugliest game of football I have ever had the displeasure of watching in my life. You're right. It was just pure class on the field.
Probably one of the best football games I've ever seen. Wow, what a sloppy expedition of a game of football.
Zach Wilson was the New York Jets' leading rusher.
Like
4 carries for 25 yards. Zach Wilson led the Jets in rushing yards.
Am I reading this correctly? Tyrod Taylor had 7 attempts.
Tyrod Taylor had 7 attempts for 8 yards, and then he got injured. He left the game with injury. And the guy who replaced him, Tommy DeVito, unsure at this point if he's related to Danny DeVito.
Who?
Tommy DeVito finished the game, 2 completions on 7 attempts for -1 yards. To put that into perspective, last Sunday, I threw for more yards than Danny DeVito did. It was atrocious football. Saquon Barkley toted the rock 36 times for 128 yards, an average of 3.5 a carry, which is, I
guess.
Sure. But like when you got Danny DeVito slinging the rock, I don't know how much you're going to get done under center by way of the air.
When did Tyrod Taylor get that?
I think either halfway through the second or late first. I'm not sure exactly which one, but I know it was early in the game.
Right. Okay.
Like probably the
7
7 attempts for Danny DeVito, -1 yards. The Giants choked that one in overtime. They had a chance to win it and seal the game, miss a field goal, give the Jets the ball back. The Jets travel 40 yards, I think, in like 22 seconds or something. Spike the ball, make the 57-yard field goal, and then go on to win in overtime as Danny DeVito was not him in that drive. Moving on from that embarrassment, we go to the Jags versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jags been red hot. Pittsburgh Steelers have been playing good football lately. This one kind of disappointed me, I'll be honest. Expecting a bigger spectacle of a game, and again, it's just kind of felt like, I hate to say it, but bad football.
Yeah, no, I agree. Kenny Pickett, the more and more games he has played throughout the season, I was like, oh, okay, let's see what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened here? This is crazy. And then the backup, he got more yardage, but then just threw 2 picks.
Yeah, Trubisky. Pickett was being Kenny Pickett. Again, Kenny Pickett's not really a guy who's going to go out there and throw for 300 yards. I think.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
10 for 16, so efficient. Only 73 yards. There was 0 running game for the Pittsburgh Steelers in this game. Literally 0. 5 carries for 19 yards for Jalen Warren was the leading rusher. Najee Harris, 7 carries for 13. Mitchell Trubisky took over for Kenny Pickett, who I think broke his rib. If I'm not sure, I think he broke his ribs in this game. Trubisky, 15 for 27, 130 yards, touchdown on a pick. Touchdown Trevor, 24 completions. On 32 attempts, 292 yards, touchdown and a pick. Travis Etienne was just a beast out there in this game. He had a huge game-changing touchdown catch down the right sideline, complete breakdown in the coverage. Lawrence able to exploit that for I think it was like a 60-yard gain and a touchdown. And then Travis Etienne also carried the ball 24 times for 79 yards. So again, Jacksonville, how much of it is circumstance? How much of it is them being really good, do you think?
I don't want to say it was all circumstance, but I think a big part of it is, because I don't know what it is, but Jacksonville being a reliable, good team, it just won't come to fruition in my mind.
Yeah.
But I mean,
it's hard to trust them.
Looking at their season, and it's becoming more and more true that they're becoming reliable and they're becoming a good football team.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to trust the Jags. I'm not really convinced that they're gonna make a deep run. But again, you can only beat who you play, and they're 6-2. They beat the Bills, so I think they are. I think they have potential. we can say. And a team that's been on the ropes lately, but is still arguably the best team in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles, took on the Washington Commies.
What a game.
What a game.
Wow.
It was an absolute gun show. The QB battle through and through. Game finished 38-31. Jalen Hurts, 319 yards, 4 tutties, 0 picks on 29 of 38 completion. Not to be outdone, though, Sam Howell.
Hello, Sam Howell.
Sophomore Sam, 39 for 52, almost 400 yards, 397 yards, 4 tutties, and a pick. The Eagles' secondary is troubling, to say the least. Because I don't know if you know, but this is Sam Howell, who threw 4 interceptions against the Bills. Just looked like a completely non-serviceable QB. Didn't know what was going on, and he just comes out here and puts up 400 on your team and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, and I'd like to personally say thank you to Sam Howell because he is now my leading QB in my fantasy team. Because Joe Burrow, out of here. Even though now Joe Burrow's starting to pick it up, which I knew would happen right when I traded him.
Yep.
But anyway. He's being, even though, Washington isn't the best team, he's becoming a pretty good QB.
He's showing flashes.
Definitely.
He's showing flashes. Eric Bieniemy, I think, is arguably, the best offensive coordinator in football. So he's got a good guy at the helm to kind of lead Sam Howell's development. Sam Howell, I think, has a lot of great tools, cannon arm, etc. I am not sold that he can be the guy, but I also think that he's not the guy yet.
There isn't that mental block.
He's in that QB limbo, I think, of like not horrible, but also not like convincingly amazing.
Yeah.
So, and again, Philadelphia 7-1, best record in the NFL right now.
Deja vu. All over again.
Deja vu, but we'll have to see what happens because because there's glaring problems, I think, in the Philadelphia Eagles camp.
There's a curse.
And getting 400 yards put up on you by Sam Howell is not inspiring confidence
A little concerning.
in the squad.
But still won.
Moving on to a team that tricked me in the beginning of the season. They tricked me. I thought they were going to be good. They weren't. The Los Angeles Rams took on the Dallas Cowboys and got peppered. They got smacked by Dallas.
This scoring is ridiculous because I don't know what's going on in LA, but in my opinion, they have the tools to be a good football team and definitely not a losing football team, which they are being this season. 3-5, and they got creamed against the Cowboys.
Yeah, they got smoked. They got folded up. This is a score-origami game. No game in the rest of the history of the NFL has finished 43-20. And unfortunately, Justin, it's time for us to perform origami on this segment and bring it to a fold. We will be right back with some more NFL coverage in about 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. See you guys soon.
Go watch Flubber.
To Sofia and Gabriel, mis flores, my little flowers. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love, so you can take me with you wherever you go, near or far. These stitches and threads join us together. Me, your mother, and both of you. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you as you bring our colorful stories to the world.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college, so I'm trying to break that barrier. Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and and it paid off. I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
And welcome back, and hello, officer.
Yep, that's my new name, Officer. Officer B Rent.
Officer B Rent. Officer Casino.
Whatever you want.
Officer Hero of the Doctrine. It's a pleasure to have you on, Brent, as always. And let's dive right back into our NFL coverage, starting with our first 425 game. The Cleveland Browns did battle with the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle jumped out to an early lead in this one, up 17 points in the first quarter. Cleveland kind of hung in there, brought it close. At one point, tied it up. At one point, took the lead at 20.
Yeah, they did.
20-17, but Seattle was able to score the winning touchdown in the fourth quarter. And I think what this game is emblematic of is how good Cleveland could be with a quarterback on their team. P.J. Walker is their starter, who went 15 for 31, 250, and a touchdown, also threw 2 picks. Deshaun Watson, I was out with injury, but even when Deshaun Watson's been playing, I'm not really moved. I'm not moved. No. Deshaun Watson doesn't move the needle for me on this team.
No, I mean, the Seahawks, they're kind of like, I feel like the Seahawks are like that iffy team where like you don't really know what to expect from them, but then like they'll just go into a game and either destroy everybody's feelings and suck, or they go in there, play a solid game, close game like this one, or they just smoke the team. They're just like, they're in the air, but I
mean, those are the 3 options.
Those are only the 3 options.
Those are the 3 possible things that could happen in an NFL football game.
I meant to say that they usually only get killed or they kill. But
yes, they're never.
This game was
They're
close.
never in the middle ground unless they're playing the Cleveland Browns, who the defense did a good job at neutralizing Geno Smith's assault. 23 for 37, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. This defense can they cause havoc. That's the thing. They're not going to like completely shut down the offense, but they will give their offense more opportunities than they give the Seattle the opponent's offense. They intercepted Geno Smith twice. They held him in check through the air. He did score twice. He did throw for 254 yards. And the rushing attack, it's worth noting, for Seattle was really potent. Kenneth Walker, 8 carries, 66 yards, averaging 8 yards a touch. And Zach Charbonnet, the rookie, 5 carries for 53 yards, averaging 10 a carry. So maybe this is a weakness we're seeing, as this aggressive sort of force a turnover, get the ball back kind of mentality on defense can be used against them with draw plays and trap plays, and obviously, unique blocking assignments to kind of take advantage of the perhaps over-aggressive defenders.
Yeah, no, for sure. Cleveland's like, honestly, they're the team that's like, their offense is like, they struggle. Yeah, they do. But their defense, like, they don't get like blown out. They always play, every game they play, their defense usually plays a pretty solid game. It's just now at this point, nobody really has faith in Cleveland anymore because the Browns just haven't really done anything in a very long time. But on the brighter side for Cleveland fans, you guys got a solid defensive core. And that is one thing that will end up helping them, I think, in the future. Once these guys, like, once they start picking it up on offense, I think.
For sure. Not only a solid defensive core, a solid young defensive core. Myles Garrett's younger than 30. Denzel Ward's younger than 30. They're all just entering their prime or have a lot of years left in their prime, so they have time to figure it out. I just think the only problem is that gave Deshaun Watson that humongous contract, and he really hasn't been playing like he's earned it. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is in Cleveland, but I think it starts with getting a quarterback. They thought Deshaun Watson was that quarterback. He hasn't proved it yet. He just doesn't look like he's that good anymore.
No, I don't know what his deal is, honestly.
We'll have to pay attention to it as he comes back from injury, hopefully very soon. But a team that everybody thought was dead has risen once more.
Risen again.
Cincinnati Bengals beat the San Francisco 49ers, who are still on a 3-game skid after losing some of their star players. Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey's missed some time as well. San Fran couldn't get it going here. Bengals win this one 31-17. Joe Burrow was almost perfect, 28 for 32, 283 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Joe Mixon on the ground contributed 87 yards and a touchdown on 16 carries.
If Cincy would have been playing like this since the start of the season, like honestly, like those are the Joe Burrow numbers that Cincy fans want to see. And those weren't the Joe Burrow numbers that he started with.
I feel like this always happens. I feel like the year starts, Cincinnati's terrible. Joe Burrow can't play quarterback. He forgets how to do it. He can't throw open receivers. The running game isn't there. The offensive line are pylons. And then like the week 4 hits, week 5 hits. They win that one close game, and all of a sudden he's back to being,
his old self.
Yeah, his old self. What was the guy's name? Kevin McAllister from Home Alone. Who's the guy that played that character? Oh God, what's his name? The actor.
I forgot his name. I know who you're talking about though.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows who that guy is.
I know Kevin McAllister. What's his name? Whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about at home. Hopefully you guys aren't alone, and if you are, get some traps going. Burrow looked elite. 3 touchdowns, and the offense was really humming. No really issues. Jamar Chase, ever since saying, I'm always open, hit me all the time, he has proven that. This game, 10 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown, a nice symmetrical stat line, all with 1s and 0s. He played great. T. Higgins, obviously, always a good compliment. And Tyler Boyd able to score as well. And Andre Iosivas had a 2-yard catch for a touchdown. So whoever had anytime touchdown score, Andre Iosivas going, congratulations. And you're also a script writer.
Brock Purdy also played a pretty good game too. I mean, he was 22 for 31, 365 yards.
The stats looked good, but did Brock Purdy look good? I don't really think the stats matched the game.
No, the Bengals defense stepped up huge in this game too. And that's one thing can't be overlooked either. They had 2 sacks on them, 2 interceptions. I mean, you get sacked twice, you throw 2 interceptions, it's like, come on. Like, San Fran, you're one of the best teams in the NFL. You're supposed to be proving yourself week in, week out. You know, there are off weeks. Teams do have off weeks. It happens. But this was just a game for Cincy. It was just all Cincy.
Yeah, it was all Cincy. Cincy looks hopefully back to their old form, putting the league on notice, beating a really good team in San Fran. San Fran is, I think, no longer the best team in the NFL. They're 5-3. They've lost 3 straight. Not time to hit the panic button yet. Still in a very active NFC West, so we'll see what happens down there in California. Heading northeast to Colorado, Denver laid the smackdown on the Kansas City Frauds. Patrick Mahomes, 241 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. There goes the MVP season. Everybody was saying this guy was happening. Travis Kelce is a Taylor Swift merchant. Russell Wilson told him, I know places, threw for 114 yards and 3 touchdowns. Talk about efficiency. He didn't even throw for more than $150, but he got into the end zone 3 times. They attacked him on the ground, and mostly this game was just the Denver Broncos defense really stepping it up.
And I mean, this was a shocking game. I mean, nobody is going to expect. I feel like every time I'm on here for NFL, me and you always have to talk about the Broncos. And every single time we talk about the Broncos, it's never really anything good.
Yeah,
the Broncos aren't anything good.
It's always, Denver sucks still.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always, we're not riding, but finally Denver is riding.
They're riding.
I just think that it's great that they keep getting it, like Denver keeps like shaking it off, getting back onto their feet and really finding.
Oh my God, that video was so funny. After they beat KC, playing Shake It Off by Taylor Swift in the stadium. Oh my God. If you're a KC fan or a Taylor Swift fan, no, not Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. If you're a Travis Kelce or KC fan, sorry but not sorry. That is the funniest thing I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, you guys kind of walked right into that one.
You really did. And that's probably going to happen every time you guys lose. That's not in your
I think it's just elite trolling from PA directors. Travis Kelce was the only receiver that really looked that great in this game. 6 catches, 58 yards on 9 targets. Obviously no touchdowns. Rashee Rice also had 4 yards, 56 yards. We've talked about this a bit when KC has struggled before. But I think this is the first game that's really been noticeable is there is a serious issue with people who can catch the ball wearing red whenever Kansas City plays.
Yeah.
There's really and there's this, I like to call it the Mahomes benefit, is Mahomes can make Walmart employees look like really good receivers.
Oh, yeah.
He's kind of losing that magic right now.
Yeah, I mean, if your guys,
He didn't really have Travis Kelce. You just double Travis Kelce, and who's going to beat you? You don't got Tyreek Hill anymore. You don't really. Mecole Hardman is washed up. Jerick McKinnon's a running back. Not even Sammy Watkins is here to save you. Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, one of these guys have to step up and really start getting it done, and I don't think anyone is.
No, and I think that's one of the things that teams look at before they go to play KC is, Obviously every team watches film of whatever team they're playing week leading up to the game. But that's probably one thing. Same with the Bills, how everyone looks at Diggs. It's the same thing with KC. Everyone always looks at Kelsey, and everyone knows that Kelsey's going to get targeted numerous amount of times in a game. Everyone knows that him and Patty Mahomes' connection is unreal, but that's why you need other guys to start stepping up to the plate. Other teams are going to start reading that. Defenses are going to start reading that. Baron Browning had 2 sacks on Patty Mahomes. And, I mean, if the other guys on your offense aren't stepping up to the plate, you're not going to win games with just a quarterback and one wide receiver and a good defense.
Right.
That's just,
I'm not a head coach, nor do I imagine to be, but I know that if I was, what I would tell my team is, don't let Travis Kelce beat me.
Yep.
Whoever, find another player, but I would refuse to let Travis Kelce be the one that wins the game for them. Because
and they have a good running back too.
I haven't seen anything from the Kansas City Chiefs offense that inspires me to believe that anybody else can. Just a quick rundown. Baltimore won a nail-biter over Arizona. It really wasn't close at all until the very end. Arizona had a 17-point fourth quarter. Joshua Dobbs looked like him. Joshua Dobbs, however, also did get traded after this game.
I just picked him up on fantasy.
Head coach Jonathan Gannon had a really weird quote in the media. He said that originally he said Josh Dobbs was going to be a starting quarterback for the next weeks. And then he said after watching the film, he's not going to be, and then he got traded like an hour later. So it is a cold world out there. It's a cold night here in Fredonia, and unfortunately it's going to have to be a cold end to this segment, Brent. Thank you so much for coming on. Don't go anywhere. Those back at home for a quick 1-minute break. We're going to be talking some NHL with Jenna. Don't go anywhere.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
And welcome back, and welcome to Jenna Polito, who's going to talk some puck. How you guys doing?
Us? It's just me here.
Who are you dressed as, Jenna?
I'm one of the Hanson brothers. If you've ever seen Slapshot, it's a movie from the 70s.
Slapshot.
It's very funny.
Nobody's ever watched this movie. What is
hockey.
it? Did I miss the memo or something in the Sports Hour group chat that we were gonna dress as things from very obscure movies that nobody's ever seen before?
Okay, they're not very obscure. I've seen Flubber. I will defend Justin on that one.
Oh, I've seen Flubber, so obviously it's the most popular movie ever.
I mean, that's kind of how it goes, but.
Okay, Miss Film Studies minor. Let's talk some puck. So far in the East, only one team hasn't lost still in regulation, and that is the Boston Bruins. They do have an overtime loss, I think.
Yes,
they lost in OT. They're first in the Eastern Conference among teams with 17 points. They are looking like the best team on ice again.
Honestly, this is exactly how it went last season. I believe they only lost 6 games or something before completely bombing in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Choking a 3-0, was it a 3-0 lead they got choked? Or I don't think it was a 3-0 lead, but they did choke and they lost in 7. Which I think was rather embarrassing to be a Boston fan. So, I don't know how much you can really trust their success, but obviously, if a team looks good, they look good, and objectively, Boston looks the best team in the world right now. However, Vegas, over in the West, has also not lost in regulation. They also have only the one overtime loss with arguably better statistics, 9 wins. They have a plus 16 goal differential. They haven't lost on the road yet. So the goalkeepers are looking nice. The forwards are looking nice. Eichel is playing well on that second line. it's just looking like a good stuff down there in Vegas and looking like they have a shot of repeating this year.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at their game last, I don't even remember what, their last game against the Montreal Canadiens, they won a 3-2. They had 25 shots they were able to get and only 8 penalty minutes. I think that is a really good job to keep it down on those penalties. You know, those can really cost us, as we very well know.
As we have seen, unfortunately, they're actually ranked first in points. They played more games than the Bruins. They're at 19 points, so they're above the Bruins in overall points. The New York Rangers looking like monsters out there. 7 wins, 2 losses. They are third in the overall league in total points with 14. Again, a good team. They don't really allow many goals. And another thing about the Bruins, just to go back to them for a second, they've only allowed 14 goals this season. That is first in the NHL. They have only been scored on 14 times. I think it's really hard to take for granted just how good Linus Ullmark and I think it's Arttu Raanta, who is their backup keeper, Jacob Swayman. I think it's Jacob Swayman. Swayman and Ullmark are. They are shut down. Like 14 goals in 9 games played. That's really good. To put that into perspective, the team that's last in goals allowed is the Minnesota Wild, who have allowed 38. So that's over double the amount the Boston Bruins have allowed, just to kind of put into perspective how well those goalkeepers are playing and the defensemen are playing.
That is just insane. I think I would like to take it over to our New Jersey game on Friday. Buffalo Sabres, we traveled to New Jersey. Very interesting game, coupled with some injuries. You know, we still have Zach Benson's out, recovering from a lower body injury. Still have Devin Levi on a lower body. And then in the second period, we also had Eric Comrie, our backup goalie to Levi, go down with the lower.
Goodness. I'm so sorry. I am the #1 Eric Comrie hater in the entire universe. I don't want to wish ill upon him. I just hope he never suits up for the Sabres again, because that guy is a liability in net. I have seen more goals scored on Eric Comrie than on any other goalkeeper in my entire life, and that is not an exaggeration. Sorry, not to interrupt you.
This is good news for me, because I am a UPL stan, and going
I think
off of
UPL is
that,
also garbage. I'm so sorry.
now we have UPL starting at the game. Unfortunately, we did lose it 5-4. That was a very close game. We kept going back and forth. And then when we played when we hosted the Colorado Avalanche on Sunday, he got a shutout. I think he had like 23 saves or something. And
yeah, it was just a really well played game by the Sabres.
Very well played.
Not
I think
a lot
he
of
went
shots
from
on.
a .883 percentage to like .913 just within that one game. And I know it doesn't mean much, but
I mean, obviously, no, small sample size, but still, it's important to know that UPL can play good. It's just the consistency has always been the problem with UPL.
he just needs to warm up to it a little.
He's been warming up to it for 4 seasons, Jenna.
And you know, Brent actually told me this before the show, just a fun statistic, but the last time that we shut out the Avalanche was February 16, 2017, and coupled with that, and then the next last time that we played the Avalanche was also a shutout, and each goalie in every game, one of them was Robin Leonard, had 23 saves exactly. So that's just kind of a very
Looks
odd.
like the strike is still affecting the NHL with their scripts, but we'll have to cut them some slack. I think the most important thing about Buffalo Sabres hockey to highlight is that they play the most frustrating hockey. Because some nights we look like we're completely unbeatable on the ice. Like the Colorado game, they got 23 shots on. Sabres scored 4 times. They were humming. The boys were playing good. The lines were efficient. Good swaps, good defense. Not a lot of penalty minutes allowed in this game. UPL was stout in net. And then the next game, or the game before that, was against the Devils. We allow 5 goals. We score 4 times, but it's not enough. Our goal differential is 0. We have scored 27 goals, and we have allowed 27 goals. Obviously, we're only 9 games into the season, but it is really important to win games early so you don't have to go on huge streaks later. Because what we do is we start slow and we have big loss streaks, and then we win 27 in a row, and then we're still like 4 games out of a wild card, and we get to 3 games out of a wild card, and we lose to like the Boston Bruins, and our playoff hopes are dashed. I just want us to start a season hot at some point. And you know, the boys, they're showing flashes. We're only 9 games in, still got 73 to play. So I don't want to jump to many conclusions, but the Sabres play very frustrating hockey is my point.
I would also agree with you, and I really think that a lot of the people that we were hoping to see this season, Alex Tuch really have a breakout, Zach Benson, the 18-year-old, and Devin Levi, of course. I mean, after he started very late into last season, we were hoping that we could actually have a starting goalie. But I think Zach Benson, he looked amazing in preseason. He has gotten like 1 or 2 assists. Alex Tuch, I don't know where
looks like
he's
a
been.
liability out there. Alex Tuch is a complete ghost on the ice. I'm just going to look up his stats real quick because I don't think they're that convincing.
Not very good at all. I believe he has 4 points. I don't know if he might have gotten a goal against the Senators.
Probably. Jack Hughes leads the entire league in points because, of course, he does. 18 from Hughes. Panarin and Larkin are in second with 15 apiece. Jonathan Quick leads the league in goals allowed against with .41, which is exceptionally low. He's allowing less than a goal per game. That is really impressive. Jonas Johansson leads the league in shutouts with 2 for the Lightning. Not the point that I'm trying to find Alex Tuch, but he is not on here, which I guess doesn't really matter. But the point is, Alex Tuch does not look like the Alex Tuch that we need him to be.
It's not what we were expecting. Although we do have a lot of point streaks coming in. I think especially Rasmus Dahlin. He is on an 8-game point streak in the Devils game and the Avalanche. He scored both of his first goals of the season, and he has had assists on every other one. I don't know if you saw the Devils game or something, but that goal was just insane. Like, he just like wound up and he got it.
Yeah, the slapper was ridiculous. I finally found Tuch's stat line. He has 9 games played with 1 goal and 4 assists for a total of 5 points. He is -1 in terms of plus minus, which, for a guy who's like mediocre, not that bad. For a guy that we really need to be a captain and lead this team and whose success we have to hinge it on Tuch. Because if Tuch's playing well, that means Tuch's line is playing well. And if Tuch's line is playing well, that means that the pressure on the lower lines, they can kind of free up to just kind of explore and play make. When this team is playing best, it's when their lines are experimenting. And without Tuch playing well, they really can't do that.
I think he's on the 3rd line now as well.
Which is probably for the best because he's just not looking too good out there.
It's not looking very hot.
But again, still early in the season. Plenty of time to figure it out. But sooner rather than later, Tucky, please. A player of the Sabres that is playing really, really well, however, is Jeff Skinner, who is our point leader, tied with Dahlin with 9. He's also our goal leader with 5. He is looking like a beast out there. We have heard Soren so many times this season. He's looking really good.
I think he is too. I mean, I am 100% a Jeff Skinner fan. I think it's definitely, you can really see it on the ice. This kid, he grew up with being a figure skater, so he has just all of that movement, and he is just so quick on the ice and to get away, and just the way that he is able to create shots on goal is just.
Yeah, no, I absolutely know what you're saying because the way he just kind of facilitates out there, gets people open looks, just how he carves up space in the offensive end, I think is just really, really important. And I think in order for this team to get better, I'd see that from more of our forwards. Just to we talked a little bit about players who we were expecting to step up this season and be really good and contribute. Owen Power is our leader in plus minus, meaning plus minus is a metric that measures how many goals are scored for your team while on your ice, subtracted by the amount of goals scored against your team. He is +6. The next highest is Yoki Highway with +4, but that means Owen Power is when he's on the ice, we have scored the most goals while allowing the least. It's a really good. I think it's a pretty good metric. He's also only served 2 penalty minutes in this, compared to Connor Clifton's 28. That's another thing about Alex Tuch. Alex Tuch has served 18 penalty minutes this year.
He's been getting into a lot of fights.
He's getting into fights, and if you're Connor Clifton and you're really just out there to be an enforcer, scrap a little bit, fight, drop the gloves. If you're Alex Tuch and you're out there having to I get you're a captain, I get you're passionate about the team, and the team needs you to be a leader. But leaders lead best when they're playing hockey, and when you're scrapping against our 3rd line scratch forward who's not even that good, you're only hurting yourself. I think Tuck is the catalyst for this team, and I think if we're going to turn it around, it starts with him.
Also, real quick, I think we need to actually talk about Middlestad and how he's actually having a really good season so far. He's up there with Skinner for one of our point leaders. He has 7 points right now, projected to have 64. I'm a Middlestad stan.
I'm not. I think Middlestad should be dealt for somebody else who's a better skater.
I digress.
And unfortunately, Jenna, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for coming up for NHL. Always a pleasure to see you. Hope you have a lovely rest of your Halloween. And don't go anywhere because we'll have a 1-minute break. And then we're going to come back and talk a new sport this semester. What? Stick around to find out. See you guys soon.
When you think of the local lowdown, what do you think of? Well, when I think of the local lowdown, it's the live music that we have played in the studio.
It's got to be the laughs we shared. The memorable moments during the whole thing. Oh my God, so fun.
The local lowdown for me is the people behind the scenes, the amazing team that we have making the show.
Oh, it's got to be exploring all sorts of genres and music I've never heard before.
Oh, easy. Going out to shows and talking to artists and getting the latest news on what they have planned for the future.
It's about these artists, man. Giving them a platform to showcase what they've worked so hard on and show their music to the community. It's all about supporting the local scene of music to keep it running for years to come. And of course, the band merch. You can't forget about the merch.
And welcome back, Officer Casino. Ready to talk some, what is that? What does that say?
I think that says National Basketball.
National Basketball Association. We're ready to finally talk hoops on Sports Hour this season. Thank you so much for doing this with me, Brett.
It's the first time. Wow.
First time we've done it this year. Obviously, as you guys know, if you've been a fan of the show for a long time, I was the NBA analyst before I was the host, so that's probably my favorite, most intriguing sport. Of interest for me. The New York Knicks are playing the Cleveland Cavaliers right now, 58-52 Knicks at half. We also have Spurs Suns playing Victor Wembanyama at 10 p.m. That's going to be an interesting game. And also Magic Clippers, who league-shattering trade happened just in the early hours of today on All Hallows Eve. Ian Rappaport, no, it wasn't Ian Rappaport, it was, I think Wojnarowski broke the news. Woj bomb, James Harden is a Los Angeles Clipper. James Harden obviously hasn't been the player he's been for a while. He's not that guy who can go out there and give you 50 a night. Remember when he had like 17-game streak of scoring 50-plus points? That was ridiculous. Not the same player anymore. But he's still a really good player. And you know, the Clippers kind of got him for pennies on the dime. They traded Nick Batum, Robert Covington, I think TJ Braxton or something, and then another player, I think, but pretty much traded like 4 bench players and some picks for an all-pro player.
Yeah.
And the Clippers, this is their final push, I think, to go all in. The chips are in. They've pushed them to the center of the table. They're dialed up. They're locked in. And I think this is the year. It's kind of make or break. You know, Kawhi's finally healthy. Paul George finally healthy. Russell Westbrook looks like a serviceable NBA player again, which is saying a lot from a guy like him. The bench is strong. Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, Reggie Jackson can all give you quality minutes off the bench. So this is the year, I think, for the Clippers.
And honestly, that's a good trade for them too, because everyone in the Western Conference right now, the Western Conference is looking pretty good.
The Western Conference is stacked.
It's compared to the Eastern Conference, it's insane. But I mean, you got the Nuggets and the Mavs still with no losses, 4-0. The Clippers are sitting at 7, but they're also tied for 5th with the Pelicans and the Suns and the Kings. So there's 4 teams that are tied for 5th place. So that's a pretty good trade, in my opinion, for the Clippers. But
it definitely doesn't hurt them.
No, it won't hurt them.
I think they're definitely getting more back than they were giving up. But yeah, you kind of touched upon how that the Western Conference is stronger than the Eastern Conference. That's verifiably true. I think there are, let's do some math, 1, 2, 3. Only teams that I think in the West that aren't going to compete this season are the Rockets, the Trailblazers. The rest of these guys got a shot, especially with the play-in tournament and just like how basketball is a game of runs and momentum. I think 13 of the 15 teams in the West can compete for a playoff spot, which is
yeah.
saying a lot about parity in the NBA right now. I think your top dogs are obviously the Denver Nuggets. I think Nikola Jokic is the best basketball player on the planet. He is ridiculous, and I think the most ridiculous part about it is he does not care about basketball. All this guy wants to do when he's not playing basketball is not think about basketball, not play basketball. He loves horses. He loves his hometown, and yeah, he just gets it done. And I think also Luka Doncic is playing some ridiculous basketball as well. The Dallas Mavericks are undefeated, as are the Denver Nuggets. Luka is playing amazing. And I think Luka's always going to be playing amazing, but it's important to note that the Dallas Mavericks' key pieces around Luka are playing good pretty too. Dwight Powell's having a good season. Kyrie Irving has been serviceable. Their new rookie has been pretty elite. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the West shakes out. And
that's a crazy duo in itself. Him and Kyrie, that's insane. I mean, I was watching their game against the Spurs last week, which was a really close game, and I did not think that was going to be a close game, but San Antonio played a really good game that day. But watching him and Kyrie around the outside of the paint together, it's insane. Because when the Kyrie trade happened to Dallas, there was a big concern about, there's going to be too many cooks in the kitchen, too many people trying to hold the ball, and they're both two very, very ball dominant players. But they also forgot that they're both two very intelligent players, and it's so much for the defense to worry about, because both of those players have this very unique gift for being able to do anything with the ball in their hands. They can shoot, they can dribble, they can pass, they can rim run, they can drive, they can slash. They can do anything with the ball in their hands, and when the defense has to worry about that, and also the three other players on the court, it's only going to be mutually beneficial for everybody on the offense. But that's, I think, that's a pretty long-winded way to say is I think it's a good pairing, and I think the Mavericks being 3-0 proves that. And I think another good pairing is Victor Wembanyama and the sport of basketball. We talked a lot about this last season, Brent, about Victor Wembanyama being one of the best prospects to ever come out of any NBA class ever. And so far, in my opinion, he's passed the eye test. Yeah, I mean, he's been playing pretty well, especially him being that young. I mean, you're going up against guys like some of these guys in the league, like, you know, when you're looking at the superstars like LeBron and Curry and Kyrie and all these guys, like, these guys have experience. Everybody has experience in this league, all the older guys, all the vets. But he has honestly proved he's kind of having a season like who was it that had a really good
rookie year?
Yeah, who was that? It was like a couple years ago, I think.
Ja Morant?
Ja Morant, yeah. He's kind of having a season like him a little bit. Yeah. And it's honestly exciting to see because people had their thoughts on him. Some people thought he was going to do good. Some people thought he wasn't going to do good. I honestly had some faith. And yeah, like you said, he's proven that he's worth his penny. Yeah, so far, so good in the land of Victor Wembanyama. I think what's important to focus on with him is just steady growth. I mean, he's coming in and he has to be a superstar. Immediately, he has to be the best player on his team, which is not an unreasonable expectation to have for a first overall pick, especially one as highly touted as Wembanyama. But I think another thing to be focused on is his health. His frame kind of lends itself to injuries. We've seen very tall players, because he's 7'7". We've seen very tall players like him before get injured very easily. So him staying healthy, I think, will be the most important part in his development, and also the Spurs. Thank you so much for coming on, Brent, to talk some hoops with us. I hope we talk more about it next week. But don't go anywhere, as our final spookiest segment is coming up in just 1 minute to talk some Formula One with Catherine. Don't go anywhere.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Ooh. Ooh. It's the ghost of Formula One past. Thanks for coming on, Catherine Anneli, to talk some driving in a circuitous lap for 52 times in a row. Talk some for Formula One. What's the latest in the Grand Prix?
Yeah. Well, first, I want to shout out Mrs. Hauer for being
Shout out Sue,
the Formula One fan of this show.
But it's important to realize that we can't have this show without our awesome pit crew at home. So thank you, Sue Hauer, for tuning in for every Katie and Ethan segment that we offer on Formula One. So let's not let Sue Hauer down and give her the inside scoop. Katie, what do you got for us?
So 2 weekends ago, because Brock was on last week, so that weekend before, they had the Austin Grand Prix in Austin, Texas. And so it was really interesting because Max Verstappen, always going to lead, always going to win, whatever.
We should just not even mention at this point.
But Lewis Hamilton ended up coming second at the end of the race. And then Lando Norris finished up the podium podium finishes.
Yeah.
But then, a couple hours after the race, there was some speculation that Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc might be disqualified from the race because
those dirty cheaters.
Because the boards on the bottom of their car, they degraded too much over the weekend, so their cars weren't in regulation anymore. So, a couple hours after the race, Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc did get disqualified. So that meant that Lewis Hamilton got stripped of his second place win, and it went to Lando Norris, and then Carlos Sainz got promoted to third place.
Which is huge, I think, for the race for second that's going on right now. No.
Because Lewis Hamilton is in third in the standings right now, and he would have gotten 18 points, and he's 20. He might have been 40 points away, and so that stripped him of 18 points to get to Sergio Perez. So, not the best, but it's okay. They still have 2 more races after the Mexico Grand Prix that just happened this weekend. But because Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc got disqualified, both of the Williams finished 11th and 12th, so just outside of the points. It went Alex Albon finished in 11th and Logan Sargent finished in 12th. But because they both got disqualified in the top 10, it meant that Alex Albon got promoted to 9th and Logan Sargent got his first Formula One point.
The American. That's our guy. Big Logan, representing the Stars and the Stripes by scoring 1 point on a technicality. That is the most American way to make a splash in the Formula One.
And it's at one of his home Grand Prix, so...
And boy, were they excited to see him finish 12th.
But that is the highest he has finished within a race, so
no, for sure.
That was exciting as well.
Definitely impressive. It's definitely one way to contribute to the American dream.
But this also brings up the disqualifications. It also brings up a point where Austin is a racetrack that has a lot of bumps, and it does degrade the bottom of the car because there's a bottom board of the car to protect the car from the ground, and that's what they weren't in regulation of. So, and Austin was a sprint race weekend, so there was no real time for the teams to adjust to having the board problems. So that also brings up, should the sprint weekends be different? And Max Verstappen has come out and said that he hates the sprint weekends.
Oh, cry me a river, Max.
It's just what the race is going to be, just shorter.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make. I think the sprint races. I mean, I'm not a definitive voice on this, but I think sprint races in general just don't really make sense.
They don't.
It's just really a glorified practice run.
A lot of alternative, a lot of people want the alternative to be a reverse grid order.
Which sounds like a cool idea.
Yeah, I think that sounds cool. And the sprint is making people lose interest in the sport as well. But because it is a spoiler, and I think I don't necessarily like them either.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Just like they want more content or whatever, and they just want more races to happen in general. But the sprint idea just feels very poorly thought out in general. I don't think it really contributes very much to like our understandings of the races or how the course runs. I think it's literally just like a dry test. You know, in layman's terms, it's basically a dress rehearsal for the actual Grand Prix the next day.
Yeah, but whatever. Max won that one as well. So. But he wins everything. So,
yeah, but he's Max Verstappen.
On to Mexico, which was this weekend. Sergio Perez.
His home race.
Well, okay, so Charles Leclerc, he qualified first, which it was actually a Ferrari front row lockout, which I love because Ferrari's my favorite team. But so neither of the Ferraris were expecting that, and then Max Verstappen ended up starting third. So the race starts. Sergio Perez, so Charles Leclerc is sandwiched in between the two Red Bulls. Sergio Perez decides to turn in to Charles Leclerc.
Why wouldn't you?
And Charles Leclerc can't go anywhere.
You gotta pass.
So he hits Charles Leclerc and crashes out of his home Grand Prix.
On the first
corner lap of the first
If you don't believe in karma, you absolutely should now. Pardon the pun. I get car as the prefix, not the point. I think there's just a very, there's a lot of reasons why I like Formula One. I think one of them is the beauty of the game, and seeing Perez DNF on the first corner of his home race brought me such immense joy in my chest. It filled me with warmth to see that in the post highlights. Lewis Hamilton, though, was mad he got DQ'd last race. He comes out Mexico, he's like, I'm gonna just do it again, and he does it again. He finishes second behind Verstappen, which at this point, second should be a glorified first, because Verstappen finishing first is a foregone conclusion. So I mean, you're pretty much racing for second anyways, and Hamilton did win that one. Leclerc in third, despite the antics of Sergio in the beginning. I think that it's gonna be interesting to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, so the two people who got disqualified in the race before ended up on a podium next race.
Weird how that works.
So, but also Lando Norris, he started 17th and ended up 6th.
Yeah, what
it says
a
fifth here, but I thought it was 6th. But
well, the two births are back to back, so it's easy to confuse the flags.
But he made up a ton of
11 or 12 spots.
Well, there was also a red flag because Kevin Magnussen had a failure in his car and damaged some of the barriers, so they had to red flag it and then fix the barriers. And there was actually like 5 DNFs, which a couple of them were failures, and then Sergio Perez crashing.
What has been going on with like the track quality in general?
I
don't even know like, I mean, it feels like every time there's a Grand Prix, there's either like, the car's bottom boards are breaking, or people are dying of heat stroke in their cockpits. Like what's going on? Is there not enough money in the tracks? Is there like not enough care in the tracks? Do you have any ideas?
I'm not really sure. I think a couple of them have been resurfaced, but I think they're just hard tracks too. The Mexico Grand Prix, the track is shorter, and it was like 71 laps, I think. So it was shorter, but also another thing about Sergio Perez, by the way, Daniel Ricciardo is back from a hand injury. It's his second race back. He broke parts of his hand. When he turns right, you can see his pinky can't grasp the steering wheel because he can't do it because it was broken.
Right.
He qualified 4th, and Sergio Perez ended up qualifying 5th. So
Perez couldn't qualify over a guy who quite literally does not have full function of his hands.
And
Get this guy out of his seat. Get Perez out of his seat. I'm talking to you, Red Bull. Look me in the eyes right now. Look at me, Red Bull. If my words mean anything to you, get Sergio Perez out of his seat. There are far more deserving drivers. I would rather you put Yuki Tsunoda in a Red Bull car. I would rather you put Lando Norris in a Red Bull car, or anybody else. Put in Vita Bottas. I don't care. I don't care who it is. Logan Sargent. DNF American. Get him in the Red Bull car. Red Bull's an American company. You know, Logan
it's
Sargent.
not.
What do you mean it's not?
It's an Austrian company.
Red Bull's Austrian?
I'm
Like the
pretty
Red Bull
sure.
team or like the
Yeah.
Red Bull brand?
I don't really know, but it's not from here, I don't think. But
Well, anyways, it should be. Get a new person in that seat. Sorry.
We'll have to see how Brazil goes this weekend, and I'm pretty sure Brazil is another sprint race. So we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, 3 races left. The race for second is alive and well. Hamilton might have had a big shot at it, but the DNF does not help him. And unfortunately, we'll have to disqualify the rest of this segment until next week. Thank you so much for coming on. Hope all of you at home have a great time. And if you want to feel extra spooky and ghost-like, make sure to follow us over on Instagram at WNYFTV. And we'll be able to keep track of all the things WNYF. And otherwise, have a great night. Be safe if you're going out. And see you guys right here, Business Hendricks Hall next week. See ya.